Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today I've got a California Second Amendment update for you. Several anti-gun bills have been sitting on the desk of Governor Jerry Brown, and he recently took action on those bills, vetoing some and approving others. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This video is brought to you by MSRarms.com, quality and precision for the modern sporting rifle. Use them to complete your next build and save by using discount code TDS5 at checkout. Now, before we get started, I want to thank the Firearms Policy Coalition very much for providing the information that I'm going to share with you guys today. This information is easily accessible. All you have to do is go to their website, sign up for their newsletter, and the second this information goes out, you will have it right there with you. So if you don't want to wait for my videos to come out, since they do take a little bit longer, make sure you sign up for that newsletter. Again, I'm not associated or affiliated with Firearms Policy Coalition, but I know that good information is hard to come by these days, and that's a good way to get it fast in your inbox. So the information that I'm using is actually directly from my email from Firearms Policy Coalition. So we're going to talk about the bills that Governor Brown signed and the bills that Governor Brown vetoed, because we did get lucky on some of them while we got unlucky on others. So we're going to go ahead and cover it. We're going to start off by talking about the bills that Governor Brown vetoed. So we have a total of 3 bills that he vetoed, but 5 bills that he actually signed through. All of which are major. One of them I would think is a little bit more major than others because it actually does strip people of their Second Amendment rights for several years. But the ones that he vetoed are SB 221, which would have banned gun shows at the Cow Palace in Daly City. That's in like the San Francisco area. Next one that he vetoed is SB 1177. You guys know that I've recently made videos about that. SB 1177 would have limited a firearm purchase to 1 in every 30 days. Where right now in the state of California, you can only buy 1 handgun every 30 days, but you can buy as many long guns as you would like, shotguns and rifles and so forth. They wanted to limit that to 1 firearm every 30 days. So either 1 pistol, 1 rifle, or 1 shotgun. And if you bought a pistol, you'd have to wait 30 days before you could then buy a rifle, and another 30 days before you could then buy a shotgun. Thankfully, he vetoed that one. He also vetoed AB 1903, which would have prohibited the dispensing of gift cards from gun sellers for gun buyback programs. So those are the ones that he vetoed. Let's talk about the ones that he actually signed and went through. Now, when I take a look at these last 5 bills, there is one thing that really strikes me here, and that is that they not only go after your Second Amendment rights, but they also go after your right to due process. Now, we've seen in recent days that a lot of these liberals just don't believe in due process anymore because it gets in the way of their overall goal, but it strips you of your Second Amendment rights and due process, all with one signature by Jerry Brown. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here. We're going to start off with AB 3129. This one to me is absolutely incredible because it takes a misdemeanor and strips you of your Second Amendment rights for life. So AB 3129 implements a lifetime ban on firearms ownership by individuals convicted of any misdemeanor domestic violence. Now, misdemeanors are supposed to be a lower crime than felonies. Felonies, as you know, they can strip you of your Second Amendment rights for life, pending some type of appeal a little bit later on. But now it's going as far to say that a misdemeanor can strip you of your Second Amendment rights for life, and he signed that one. Okay, we also have AB 2526, which would allow gun violence restraining orders, which is basically the restraining order that could take your firearms before you have a chance to actually fight for them back. So you lose due process, somebody else decides you might be a danger, they strip you of your Second Amendment right, and then you have to go and defend yourself. That's what the gun violence restraining order is. So again, AB 2526 allows gun violence restraining orders to be issued verbally by judicial officers. So they're just basically expanding on existing gun violence restraining orders. We also have SB 1200, which expands the gun violence restraining order to include magazines. So now they'll take your firearms, but they forgot about your magazines, which is just, an object, right? A paperweight, unless it's inserted into a firearm. But they don't want to miss anything, so now they can take your magazines as well. Just figure that one out. We also have AB 1968, which he signed, which implements a lifetime ban on firearms ownership by individuals that have been admitted to a mental health facility more than once in a calendar year period. So if you've been admitted to a mental health facility more than once in a year, you get your treatment, you get your help, everything gets figured out. Guess what? Next year, or let's say 5 years down the road, you're older, you're wiser, things have calmed down, you are no longer able to practice your Second Amendment right because of this bill. Now, while we all understand that when it comes to firearms and mental health, you're talking about a very dangerous combination, but I can tell you that they don't always last forever. People get help. They really do. And so for those people that are maybe getting out of the military and suffering with PTSD, that could be a scary one for you. Now, another one that we're looking at here, and this is a big one. This one is one that bothers me a lot, is that SB 1100 passed. That's the one that Jerry Brown signed. It will prohibit the sale or firearms or ammunition, sale of firearms or ammo to anyone under 21 years of age, with certain exemptions such as law enforcement. So there are some exceptions. We'll talk about what those exceptions are. But still, if you are under 21 years old, you lost your Second Amendment rights. I believe that starts January 1st of 2019. Now, like I said before, it looks like there might be a workaround for SB 1100. Now, this is going to be for those people that are 18, 19, and 20 years old who want to buy a firearm after the law has actually been implemented. So if the law has already been implemented, you want to buy a firearm, but you're within that age group, what do? Well, one, you're going to have to be motivated, and you're going to have to be somebody who's going to have to take action on this because it's going to take a little bit of work. But from the way that the law is written, it looks like it doesn't apply to those people that are within that age group that have a hunting license. Now, in California, if you want to get a hunting license, you have to go through a hunter's education course. So you go through your hunter's ed course, which is, I believe, an 8-hour course. I did mine so long ago now that I forget. But I believe that it's an 8-hour course. It's very easy. You sit in a classroom, you listen to some guy talk about edges and talk about firearm safety and stuff like that. You get your hunter's education certificate, you go and then you get your permit. Once you have that permit, it looks like that doesn't apply to you anymore, even if you're within that age group. Now, for those people saying, well, then can I buy a handgun if I'm 18? No, that's a completely separate law. Okay, that's a completely separate law altogether. But if you're 18, 19, or 20 and you want to buy a long gun, it looks like that's the way that you could do it. You have to go through the hunter's education program, and then you have to get a hunting permit. So if you have your hunting license, it looks like that's your one way around. So keep that in mind. But here's what makes me so angry, is that you're taking a group of people, 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, okay, a group of law-abiding adults in the state of California. We're not talking about people who are already prohibited from owning firearms. If you're already a felon or for some other reason you can't buy a firearm and you're in that age bracket, then you couldn't buy a firearm to begin with. But law-abiding adults in those age groups have had their Second Amendment rights stripped by the simple stroke of a pen. Okay? So all of these liberals and Democrats that run the state of California have determined that it's very simple for them to restrict your Second Amendment rights or to restrict your constitutional rights. Now, I know that has to do with the Second Amendment, but could you imagine applying that to any of the other rights that are in the 10 Bill of Rights, okay? Could you imagine somebody saying, you know what, we feel that if you're 18, 19, or 20, you're too immature to have free speech. So he simply writes a bill, the bill gets passed, and he signs it saying, yeah, it's too dangerous for them to have free speech, so we're going to restrict free speech until you're 21. Or the right to not self-incriminate. We're going to go ahead, we're going to take that off. That means that when police come and police need to talk to you about something, you have to tell them. You can even incriminate yourself, or they can force you to incriminate yourself. Could you imagine if you could simply, sign that and take away those rights? Nobody would stand for it. Nobody would stand for your First Amendment or your Fifth Amendment or your Fourth Amendment rights being stripped from you. So why would everybody stand for your Second Amendment rights being stripped from you for those 3 years? This really angers me. These are good people. And what kills me is the Democrats and the liberals that run the state of California, these are, supposedly progressive people, say that they're all for women's rights. They're all for women's equality and women's rights. Well, what about the 20-year-old mom or the 19-year-old single mom that is at home that wants a way to defend herself and her kids? She wants an equalizer. She wants to know that even if law enforcement can't make it, she can defend her own family. She can't anymore. Liberals took that away from you. Or what about the mom whose husband is at work or on deployment, and she wants a way to feel comfortable at home knowing that she can defend herself? The liberals took that away from women. You can no longer do that. It's now just you, your kids, and maybe a baseball bat or some pepper spray, and you're going to have to pray that law enforcement gets there fast enough. So your liberal and progressive friends have also stripped you of your Second Amendment rights as well. So when they say they adore women and women's rights, well, they just stripped you of yours for 3 years. Now, while I'm happy that Jerry Brown actually vetoed some of the bills, because we all know that it would have been a lot worse had he signed all of them, this is just another step in the direction of complete control in the state of California. We have been facing an onslaught of anti-gun legislation coming through. The governor has been basically signing just about everything that's hit his desk. We've had to suffer through Gunmageddon, which is also known as Gunpocalypse. We've seen an expansion in the definition of assault weapons. We have seen micro-stamping laws come take place. We've also seen an expansion of the firearms that are not allowed in the state of California. We're facing ammunition restrictions. The safe handgun roster is shrinking, which is basically a backdoor gun ban. So an assault on our rifles, no pun intended, and an assault on our pistols. We have seen the amount of law-abiding citizens in this state become criminals overnight. Now, in 2019, we're going to be facing even more anti-firearms laws that are going to be taking place that do kind of revolve around Gunmageddon and Gunpocalypse. That has to do with, importation of ammunition, ammunition sellers, and background checks for ammunition sales and different things like that. I mean, this is not over. The fight is not over. In the state of California, we wake up and we fight every day. You either wake up and you fight every day and you do something to contribute, or you just give up now. That's the way that I look at it. Now, when people ask me what they can do, I always say the same thing. I don't have a law degree. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in the fight with these people. So I donate my money to these groups, whatever group that you choose, to help defend our rights here in the state of California and try and get this stuff overturned. Because unlike some other national gun groups that don't really do shit, but say they do something, there are a lot of local groups that actually do. So you have the Cowguns Foundation, you have the Firearms Policy Coalition, which is one of my favorites. They are my go-to organization. I am a proud member of the Firearms Policy Coalition, and you want to make sure that you not only join, but you donate money to the cause, because they are the ones that are in court. They are the ones that are going, and they are the ones that are fighting against all of this anti-gun legislation. Now, while it's mostly a losing battle, we have sporadic wins here and there, but it's about not giving up the fight. We cannot give up the fight. If we do, just forget it. The progressive liberals are just going to take this state over. You're all going to be using restrooms with men and women inside and people that look like they might be one of either. And everything that you love and dear and hold conservative in your values is going to be gone completely. So right now, while I am fighting for the Second Amendment, I'm also fighting for the sanctity of our state. It is just going downhill one day at a time. And I know that I'm a Second Amendment channel and I don't usually talk about, social justice stuff. But I'm telling you right now, if we give up the fight on one thing, it's just another foothold for them to start taking on something else. Thank you all very much for watching. Again, check the links in the description box and donate. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day. This video is brought to you by MSRarms.com, quality and precision for the modern sporting rifle. Use them to complete your next build and save by using discount code TDS5 at checkout.